recording button. And yeah, welcome to lecture number 4 in the Acumatica Demo University. Thank you very much to all of you who managed to negotiate your way through our change of platform. Right now, we are utilizing the GoToTraining platform. And in the next couple of lessons, we're going to start taking advantage of even more of the functionality in this platform, which allows me to do things like sharing whiteboards, getting you guys sharing your screens, doing polls, sharing more detailed materials, and so on and so forth. So again, I thank you all for doing that. And with that in mind, let me get started and get things underway. Now, there is a couple of hands gone up, so I just want to make sure that there are no other issues that anyone is having with their connections. And I think we're okay. So, what are we going to focus on today? Well, there's 2 key areas that we're going to handle. You'll recall, for those of you who joined us last week, and I'm not sharing anything, by the way, at this point in time, because I did say today was going to be a PowerPoint-free zone, and it will be. I want to focus on some very specific demonstrations of some very specific components around this. But what we're going to focus on today is we're going to begin our discussion around industry-specific selling. So in the last few weeks, we've talked about some generic positioning. We've talked about, some of the tools that we're making available to you. But in the interest of keeping things kind of varied, but still structured, we're going to talk today about selling into industries. And what I want to do, I do want to ask you, just to let me know, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to do a poll, all right, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and just bear with me for 1 second while I quickly create my poll. And then I'm going to share the poll with you. Okay, and what I'd like you to do right now is I would like you to quickly and hopefully answer that question. All right, and then just a quick question: are you seeing the poll results as people are answering? Okay, we've got 89% of people have voted.
I don't see them. I don't see them.
No, that's okay. I'm going to give you the the results. But you're all being able to vote, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now I'm showing 95% of you have voted, which is a great response. Thank you. So the question was, and I'll give you a couple more seconds just to answer, the question was, how many of you have actually seen one of my industry-specific webinars? And so far, 63% of you. We've got 100% voting, so thank you. 63% of you have said yes, and 37% of you have said no. So for the 37% of you who have said no, I didn't ask one more question, which was, did you even know that they exist? But I'm letting you know now that they do exist. And if you go to my YouTube channel, and you can find the YouTube channel, again, I'm going to pop that in our chat, so you've got the URL. The YouTube channel is at http://www.youtube.com/DuffyRichard. If you go and you visit that channel, you will see that I've already delivered 2 industry-specific webinars. Don't go and watch them now because it's probably, it's something you can do later if you're having difficulty sleeping on Saturday night. And you need the sound of somebody droning on to put you to sleep, then go and put it on a Saturday night, and it'll send you to sleep very, very quickly. Well, hopefully it won't actually, but do tell me if it does, because I want to know whether or not you find the webinars good, bad, or indifferent. But one of the things that I've started to do is to working with partners, and every single one of you has the opportunity to do this together with me, is working together with specific partners. We are executing these industry-specific campaigns. And part of the industry-specific campaign is to do a webinar focused on an industry. Now, when we do the webinar focused on an industry, what do we focus on? We talk about the industry issues. We talk about the industry concerns. We talk about what's going on in that industry from a trend perspective. Okay, we talk about what are some of the statistics around that industry. Now, by the way, I just wanted to remind everybody that today we do have our second person who's going to be doing their presentation, and that's going to be Penelope Pierce. So, Penelope, I saw you put your hand up there. We will get to your demonstration in the second half of today's session. Unless you're not quite ready and you do want to push back to another session, just let me know via a private chat.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, it's 50 minutes. That's the problem. I have it set up so that there are about 9 pages talking about Acumatica because it's generic. We'd like to start using it here at Evron. So
okay.
So the beginning of it starts to talk about Acumatica and just a few punch lines, and then it's got the Acumatica demo that I'm using embedded in it, and then I go through from quote to cash and through purchasing and
okay.
deliver.
So
it's quite, it's. I think I need to have 50 minutes of my, unless we want to chunk it up, and then it comes at the other end. It's just like 4 or 5 PowerPoint slides on Evron. So we would like to be able to present this to our clients, and so I've been holding off in case it's too long, it's too short. I've shown it here as in a dry run, but I would really appreciate having people that are in the same on the same.
Absolutely understood.
Yeah.
Now,
so
can we break you down into 2 chunks, or will that throw you off completely?
It'll throw off the point that I'm trying to make. I'm trying to go into a client, get my 50 minutes out there, and then have them just throw the questions back. And it doesn't do any deep dive. Set it up for the next invitation from the client, which would go into their specifics, which is what
Perfect.
You're talking about today. Yeah.
All right. So then, can I ask you a favor, because I didn't realize that you would, and that's my bad for not validating that ahead of time. Can we ask you to present your session next week? Is that still doable?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So bearing that in mind, we'll move you to next week.
That would be super, thank you. And then I'll go from the beginning to the end, maybe get it down to 40 minutes if I can, because with my dry runs, people have been asking questions, so possibly it's only 40 minutes, and then at the very end of it, I would appreciate feedback, and any negativities are fine as long as you don't throw tomatoes. I'm good.
Okay, no problem. Well, there isn't a virtual tomato plug-in for GoToTraining, so
just checking.
Yep. So no worries about that. So yeah, we'll have Penelope scheduled for next week, everyone. And again, my apologies. So then heading back to our original topic, which is around industry. So I've been doing these industry webinars, and we focus on explaining to people what they can, what some of these challenges and issues are around industries. So let me throw the floor open because I got kind of everybody unmuted right now. So please, one of the things that I do ask you to do in these sessions, when I unmute everybody, please try not to be banging away on your keyboards or anything like that. What I'd like you to do now is I'm going to throw the floor open. Give me your feedback. How do you think you can position yourself as an industry expert? What are the things that you might do to be able to position yourself as an industry expert?
This is Penelope. I just maybe I'm an accountant. I'm a CMA, so I'm a manufacturing accountant, and I think that what I'm trying to do at Evron is develop a market that is geared towards the manufacturing, using the front portion and the back portion of the Acumatica, and understand the whole thing from the beginning to the end. Understanding right now that I do know the manufacturing, and I've been VP Finance and Corporate Controller on the other side. I've implemented a manufacturing system, and also a couple of installations for NAV. I don't know if you're allowed to say that on here, but
of course you are.
And Great Plains. So I now am at Evron, and I would like to be able to come out with that specialty and wrap it all up in Acumatica.
Got it. Okay, super. So that's good. So you've actually been in the industry. So you've walked the walk and talked the talk. So that's a great thing. Anybody else?
This is Mike Gill. I'm with Fusion Retail Systems, and we work with Acumatica, and we've got about 2,000 stores that use the software. Now it's retail specific and distribution specific, but it's all integrated in with Acumatica. So our ambition is to work with the SMB retail market and the distributors and leverage our install base experience. And for the record, I own some stores as well. So there again, that's another avenue.
Right. So for you, it's looking back at your install base. Anybody
install
else?
Base and experience.
Yep, install base and experience. Anybody else?
This is Cliff. I think it's important to research the industry that you belong to, and for follow the trends in social media, follow the trends in magazines and other kinds of print media or online media that will help you understand the trends of things that are going on, what's new, and stay up current with, just like a CPA would, with all the current activities in the world of accounting.
Great. Okay. So, yep, keeping aware of what's going on, signing up for industry publications, using social media. Yep. One more, and then I'm gonna give you some of the things that I think are actually helpful, that I find are very useful. Anybody else? Just not to put anybody on the spot, but as I look at the people who have joined us for today's session, Graham in the UK. Are there specific things that you do? I mean, you went out and you took the presentation that you showed everybody last week, and you actually executed it with an audience during the week. What are the things that you do before you go and you go and present to an industry audience or present to somebody in a particular industry?
If I'm going to a particular industry, I would first of all try and engage with somebody within that industry, if it wasn't one I knew, to understand some of their specific issues. Preferably it's somebody I've met through a business networking group or just a friend, and just talk to them first.
Yep.
And then use that knowledge and my enthusiasm for the Acumatica product. Strangely enough, I did the same thing today with a customer who's an electrician. They're an existing customer. I talked to them very generally. It was kind of it wasn't a focused presentation as I tried last week. It was just a general chat. I learned an awful lot about the things that they have as issues within their industry, and I worked out how I could position Acumatica to deliver against those challenges. And what I'll do at some point in the future is hopefully talk with them, present to them first, and then use that knowledge to go to a wider audience through a trade-specific group of some kind.
Fantastic, thank you. And one other person, I'd be interested. Mary Abdian, and hopefully I pronounced your last name correctly, Mary. Any thoughts from you on how you prepare yourself for an industry discussion? And actually, maybe I've picked on Mary when she wasn't, when she was away from her computer. So, oh no, there she is. Mary, any thoughts from you specifically on how you prepare for an industry-specific discussion with the customer? All right, I can see she's off mute, but I can't quite hear her. So, all right, just Mary, feel free to yell out when you're able to connect again. That's Mary Abdian, by the way. Sorry. So she's gone off mute. Okay, you've got some microphone issues. No worries. Well, hold that, and as soon as you solve your microphone issues, yell out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you how I actually do this, because one of the things that, on top of all the points that you guys already made, was I found a really great resource that I like to use, and it's not a cheap resource. It costs us about $8,000 a year to have access to it at Acumatica. But the good news is, as I'm going through this resource and I'm explaining it to you, you don't have to go out and buy your own. All right, I have the capability to take this resource and I can use it to generate the information, and I can then pass that information to you. So on top of all of those things that you guys have already talked about, I use a resource from a company called Hoovers. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to close down my poll, and then bear with me for a second. All right, I'm going to close that poll, and then I can share my screen, and then I can get rid of that. So one of the things that I have used is from a company called Hoovers. So can you all see my web browser now? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. And just out of interest, can you see the GoToMeeting pod extended out, or you can't see that?
I can see it.
Okay. And so now it's just disappeared off to the side?
No, I'm fine though. I like to see it.
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. Well, I just want to make sure I've got maximum screen space. So I use a service from a company called Hoovers, and many of you are probably aware of Hoovers. Maybe you've used them yourselves for buying lists or generating information about your customers. Now, this is not a sales pitch for Hoovers, by the way. I don't get paid a commission if one of you signs up for Hoovers, because again, remember, you don't have to. Everything I'm going to show you right now, we can do together with you and for you. So the only advantage to you signing up for this, it would be that you don't have to rely on me to pull this information for you. But one of the things that Hoovers have is that they have a linkage into, obviously, the back-end Dun & Bradstreet information, because they are a Dun & Bradstreet company. But they also have their own, if you like, industry research group called First Choice. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but I'm just going to log in right now. And what First Choice do is they spend their time gathering information about specific industries and preparing that information in a way that you and I, as subscribers to the service, can go ahead and pull information about that industry. So, for example, let's say that you are okay, thank you, Roman. Roman's just told me that you're only seeing the PowerPoint screen. You're not seeing the Hoovers web browser. Are you seeing my web browser?
No.
Okay, my apologies. Let me fix that right now. Show my website. Okay. How about now?
No.
Okay. Another window is on top of your shared application. Pardon my stupidity here. This is just a little bit of an issue with me using this new go-to training. I thought I'd sorted out all of the issues. Let's try this one more time. Show my show my screen. All right, how about now? Can you see the web browser?
No, it just says info to Acumatica.
Still seeing your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, one
It's your
sec.
PowerPoint saved.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why you're seeing that because just bear with me. Problem between keyboard and chair. Okay, what are you seeing now? Still
A
PowerPoint?
funny waterfall.
Okay, a funny waterfall. All right, so close all windows. It looks like for some reason it's actually showing you, okay, I can see that now, and let me show my Arg. Man, this is killing me. 1 second.
This is making me feel so much better because this happens to me, so this is good.
It's really frustrating.
I know.
While
How about
while
now?
you're doing that,
Yes.
No.
no, unfortunately, mate. While you're doing that, something I've just picked up on.
Yes.
You gave me a couple of one-liners that I found very useful during that I just basically added to the presentation I did last week. And I can't remember what they were now from you, but it was like, say, 30% of your time, wasted time with dispatch, and increase your invoice turnaround by. It would be really handy to gather a resource, a listing of one-liners that perhaps we've all got experience of in individual industries that we could make available for everyone to review.
Yep. Okay, good good feedback, good thought. Okay, and so I'm going to try this one more time. And then I'm just going to kill myself.
Doing that, I wouldn't have anything to do on a Friday anymore.
Yeah, okay. Sorry guys, just give me one more second. I'm going to try this again.
I'll share with you what I saw though. When you were doing some of your work here, I did see Hoover come up on the very bottom in the box. So you're very close.
Okay, close but no cigar, huh?
No, it kept moving, but it's there.
Okay. All right. So bear with me for 1 second. I know how I'm going to fix this right now, so don't go away. Please stand by. Normal service will be resumed as soon as possible.
So, Graham, what part of England are you from?
I'm in Kent.
Oh, okay.
I've kind of got it really lucky. I'm less than an hour away from the continent and about an hour away from London. So
I was born in the Warwickshire Hospital, although I'm in Canada and have a Canadian accent, but I have a second citizenship for Dublin because my father was Dublin.
excellent.
Yeah,
Love Island.
I do too. Of course, you don't have to work there, neither do I, so it'd be a little rough, you know.
One of my very good friends and chief sales guys I've learned an awful lot off in the past, and who's working with me with Acumatica, is based in Ireland actually. So,
Oh, wow.
yes, I don't work there, but he does. So,
Yeah. Well, I have a cousin who's up in the Warwickshire in the mountains, and his business is in Bristol.
uh-huh.
So I guess it's just depend. I mean, I guess going back and forth is not a big deal. It's like us going to the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Like I'm only about 60 minutes from the border, so it's like all the same one way or the other for us. But I think between England and Ireland, it's probably the same too.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I love Vancouver Island actually. Did that 2 times.
I'm in Toronto. I'm about 3,000 miles. I'm closer to you.
Right, so you're across the rainbow. They still call it the Rainbow Bridge, isn't it?
Yes, I am. Yeah. I don't know. I think they call it something else now, but I remember it as the Rainbow Bridge.
The thing I best remember from Toronto and Niagara is the use of cabbages as decorative.
The use of what? I'm sorry, the use of what, Graham?
I think there were cabbages, cabbage-like plant, because it was so wet.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'll be back with you guys in a second. I've almost got it solved.
Okay.
Ah,
Oh, this looks good. Maybe.
they're in a rainforest now, Richard. Thank you.
Got the Google screen. That's good.
Wow, that was really funky. You know what it was? It seems to be some kind of issue with Internet Explorer, where Internet Explorer just refuses to share itself out through GoToMeeting. It must be that Microsoft are saying, well, if you're not going to use Link, you can't use Internet Explorer either. So anyway, back to where we started. Hoovers, hooray! All right, so with Hoovers. This is the site where you go and you sign in, and they have a number of different tools, as I mentioned. And one of the components that they have is the client is the first choice research arm that they have. So when you go onto Hoovers, just out of interest, has anybody here actually used Hoovers? Anybody on the call have a Hoovers account?
No.
No? Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, the reason why I like Hoovers and I think it's really valuable is because it actually gives me the ability to go ahead and do a whole bunch of research on an industry. But let's talk about the main area, and if we've got time at the end, I'll bring you back and show you some of the other things. But I can go in here into industries. And let's say, for example, I've got a customer or a prospect who's come to me and they've said, you know what, I am in the wholesale distribution space. Now, one of the things that I would want to do is I would want to try and get down to a little bit more detail. So what I can do is I can go in here and I can say, all right, it's wholesale. So then I type the word wholesale there, and you can see it gives me a bunch of choices. So is it electronic component wholesalers? Is it petroleum wholesalers, warehouse clubs and superstores, telecommunications equipment? Or is it the wholesale sector generally? So I'm going to pick the wholesale sector generally. So what then does it do? And I apologize for that shockwave flash error message that keeps coming up there. But what does it allow me to do generally? What it then does is it gives me an overview of this particular industry. And then it tells me, okay, who are the kinds of, what is the description of this industry? And so then I can go in here and I can get a full description if I want to. And then it shows me a full description of that industry. And then once I got that full description, you know, I can start to equate or build my understanding of what's going on in that industry. So I get the industry description, I get the competitive landscape, okay? I then get a whole range of call preparation questions. So it really is a salesperson's tool that helps you walk the walk and talk the talk. Then not only does it talk about the competitive landscape, it gives me a briefing of what are the kinds of things that are occurring from a product, operations, and technology perspective. So if I know nothing about the industry, and most of you will no doubt know what's involved in wholesale and distribution, but it also gives you some interesting statistics. So, you know, here, for example, operations typically consist of merchandising decisions, purchasing from manufacturers and suppliers, warehouse inventory management, and so on and so forth. Okay? Then I go down to my next section. All right? And again, most of you will probably know these things. So when you're going in at a really high level, hopefully most of you know that the rule of warehouse operations is that the faster the inventory must move, the fewer items that can be stocked. Okay, so it's not telling you anything that you potentially don't know, but one of the things that it does do, it can give you a reminder. So if you're in a panic mode because you have to go in and talk to a prospect in an industry really, really quickly, it can kind of give you enough talking points to you know, help put you at ease. Then what are the sales and marketing challenges that a company in that organization has to face, right? What are the finance and regulatory issues that have an impact on that industry? And then what are the regional and international issues that they might be facing? All right? Make sense so far? I'm going to assume that it does. I will assume that silence equals acceptance. Or maybe silence equals I've disconnected from the call. Are we still on the call?
No. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you've got all this information, and then you've also got statistics here about human resources. So you can see here is information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is up to date as of April 2014, which actually shows you the information about this particular industry. So not only does it equip you with some general talking points, it also equips you with some very specific talking points. Okay? So then if I look across here, on the other side there, I've got my industry indicators. Okay? So, you know, the average US retail price for diesel and regular gas, a major operating cost for fleets in distribution, rose 1.9 and 1.8% in the week ending May 12, 2014, compared to the same week in 2013. So now I've got something which is immediately topical that I can potentially talk about. Okay, so now I know, because this is something which, correct me if I'm wrong, most of you I'm sure would agree that this is something which would be front of mind for many of your customers who are operating their own wholesale distribution fleets. Now, it would also, even if they don't, if they're working with you know, DHL, or they're working with FedEx or UPS, one of the things that they need to be aware of potentially is the fact that, you know, they may have, they may have a pending price increase. So one of the things that you could then do is when you go in and you start talking to them, you could say, you know what? One of the things that we've detected from talking with our customers, and because we are an expert on the wholesale distribution space, we keep an eye on it, that the cost of these, the cost of fuel has gone up by 1.9% in the last week compared to the same week in 2013. Now, that's going to potentially mean that, you know, your freight companies are going to start charging you a little bit more. So one of the things that's worth looking at is how can you optimize your packing and shipping. And one of the things that you can do with Acumatica is you could then go back and do X, right? And in another session, we're going to then start getting into some specifics, right? So today's session, I'm going to talk about how do you position yourself with the right information to look at an industry. And then in other sessions, we're going to pick an industry, and then we're going to go and we're going to talk specifically I'm going to take one of these pieces of information, and then I'm going to show you how I then map that, and then how I then demonstrate Acumatica against some of these specific key points that you might want to use. All right? So hopefully that makes sense. But then, you know, it really positions you to have a topical discussion. Because again, at the end of the day, what do people want? People want to be dealing with an industry expert. If I've got a choice, if all things are equal, if you are, you know, if you are just a generalist, if you come in and you say, well, you know what, we can pretty much handle anything. We've got a few customers in your industry, we've got a few customers in other industries, versus somebody who comes in and says, well, you know, we are an industry expert. We understand your industry 100%. We know exactly what's going on in your industry. Then who are you going to buy from? Well, you're going to buy from the industry expert. All right? So when you look at those webinars that I did, one of the things that you'll probably notice is the graphs and the statistics that I used in those webinars to build those slides have actually come from here. So all I did was I went in here and I grabbed this graph, okay, and, you know, using, let me just shut down my Outlook as well because that keeps popping things up. I went in and I grabbed these things using a tool called Snagit. Is everybody I presume has got some kind of screen capturing tool that they use, right? I use Snagit for doing screen grabs, so, you know, I can just go into Snagit, I can start a capture, and just all I do is I'll click on here, and then I'll select what I want to grab. Okay, there's the graph. I'll grab that, I'll take a screenshot, and then I'll copy that, and then I'll just paste it into my PowerPoint presentation. Okay? Was everybody able to see that effectively?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. So then, you know, I then take that and I embed it into my PowerPoint. But then one of the other things I'll do is I will go and do some additional research on the web and grab some more reports and some more information. The American Institute of Certified Practicing Accountants, I don't know how many of you are members of the AICPA, they have some really great research. And even if you've only got one person inside your organization who is a member of the AICPA, you can get them to sponsor you into a associate membership where you have access to a whole bunch of resources. And they have some really great reports on, you know, on trends in different industries. So again, the whole secret to this is preparation up front, looking at what's going on in the industry and so on. So if I look at more of these call preparation questions, I've got conversation starters. So here you go. Here's some things. How do changes in interest rates affect the company's profits? Okay, because many distributors finance their inventories, they're sensitive to interest rates, right? So then, you know, you can have these kinds of discussions. So rather than it being a, let me show you a general journal entry screen in Acumatica, or let me show you how we set up an inventory item, you change the whole basis of the discussion. You change the whole basis of the engagement around being a value add from an information perspective, and you know, becoming a resource, so that the prospect knows that not only are you there to sell them some software, there's a good chance you're going to sell them the right software because you understand their industry. So far, so good. Makes sense?
Yes.
It gets.
I did have
yes.
that question that I just sent over to you.
Is it country specific, or is it
yeah.
right
yeah,
now? The majority of this information is US specific,
okay.
and that's
okay.
Apart from Graham, who I think is our only person who's on this call right now outside the US.
No, I'm Canada, you see.
Okay, sorry, North America, I meant.
Okay.
My bad.
But some of our trends are a little bit different. I noticed that as as
Yep.
you were going down it. So I would have to just change it a little bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, one of the things that you can do is you can say, okay, well, if these are some of the things that are impacting this country, it then gives you a kickoff point to go and start doing your research and saying, okay, well, what about in my country, and how am I going to get some of that information? But I'm going to come back to your question, Penelope, in a second.
Okay.
And I'm going to use you as a specific example of how we can work with you to help you leverage this information. So one of the things that you'll see is that there is this ability to print a report. So when I go in here and I say print a report, it gives me two choices. It gives me the choice to create my own report, and what I can then do is I'm able to take all of those sections that have come up, and I can go in and say, I want a salesperson's report, which is a consolidated version, or I can go and do a custom report. And when I do my custom report, I can say, which of these sections do I want? Or normally what I'll do is I'll do a select all. So it pulls all this information in, which also includes a glossary of acronyms. So, you know, you can jargon and buzzword it out with the best of them, and it gives you an opportunity that before you walk into the room, that you can educate yourself on some of the acronyms that are likely to come up. So if somebody starts talking about lean manufacturing, you don't say, oh yeah, lean manufacturing, is that where they don't allow fat guys to get involved in the manufacturing process? You know, you'll know what lean is. You'll know what Kanban is. You know, Kanban, yeah, I can ban my children from accessing the internet after 8 o'clock at night. No, well, that's not what Kanban is from a manufacturing perspective. You know, so again, you can take this and then you can generate the report. Now, what I then do is I then take this report, and hopefully you can now see the report on your screen, okay? It's got all of that contents, the general information, an industry description, all of those different things. It even gives me all the NAICS codes and SIC codes that are relevant. And then it gives me executive insight points for each of the senior people in the C-suite inside that industry sector. All right? So what are the things that a CEO would care about? What are the things that a CIO would care about? What are the things that the CFO cares about? What are, based on the very latest information, the critical issues that people need to be thinking about, and other business challenges? Quarterly industry updates. Here's additional industry websites you can go to learn more about. What are some of the core industry indicators that people people look at, and then some fast facts. All right, so here is all that information all laid out for you in a simple report, okay, with links to additional information. There's my statistics, okay, product segmentation by revenue, you know, imports and exports, seeing if there's trends upwards or downwards, and industry forecast. How does the industry look over the next 5 years? Is it looking like it's going to trend up or down? So, you know, as you go in and casually throw some of these stats into your discussions, again, what are you doing? You are increasing your credibility with the prospect. And that's really how you get to differentiate yourselves. Okay, makes sense? So then, what are the other things you can do? Is you could then take this report, and you are allowed, or I am allowed, to take this report, and I can go into Adobe Acrobat, and I can go ahead and edit this report. And I can take this and I can say wholesale sector report prepared by, let's just pick one of our partner names at random, prepared by McCabe Associates for, you know, 123 Distribution LLC, right? So you basically then take it and you turn it into a customized document, and then you put your logo on here, and it basically then is a presentation of, to all intents and purposes, because this is now your knowledge, right? It's now stuff that you now know about that industry. So you're not doing anything that is duplicitous. You're not lying. You now know this information about that industry. So it's information you know about the industry that is now being prepared and presented for your prospective customer. And then you can take the content, you can cut and paste it, of course, and you can present it in your own document. So you can tailor your own reports with this information. So how do you get hold of this? Well, that's a really generic one. Let's say, for example, you turned around to me and you said that the industry that I am looking at is actually not just the wholesale sector, but let's go back to industries again and let's pick one that's a little bit more specific. You can see they've got a list of all the industries that they do have first choice reports on. And you'll see anywhere where there's this little icon, that means that there is in-depth industry insight available. Let's say you're going and you're talking to somebody in biotech. So let's expand that out. So there's biopharmaceuticals and biotherapeutics, or biotech research equipment manufacturing. Let's pick this one. You can then take that, and I can now do the same thing there. I can now print a custom report on that particular industry. So I can select all, and then I can generate a report. Now, depending on the industry, some of them will have more information than others, all right? But what it will at least give you is it will give you a basis for going out and doing additional research. So when you know who these core companies are, many of them are public companies. Many of them are sales and marketing organizations, so they're going to be publishing white papers and documentation on things that are of interest to their customers. So at least if you can show to a prospect that you understand what's important to people in their industry, and you can talk about things that are topical, then you're in good shape. So for example, if I'm out there and I'm trying to sell to software companies right now, what do you think is going to be one of the things that's going to be front of mind for software companies right now? Does anybody want to have a bash at this? There's no right or wrong answer.
I think it's the cloud base is trending very high right now, and also the dashboards and the flexibility of those dashboards, which Acumatica has addressed. That's a lot of cocktail conversation.
Yep, absolutely. That is very, very important. Now, if you are contemplating moving to the cloud, what's one of the key things that's going to impact?
Impact. Well, there's a few levels. So at the level of the user,
yep,
it will impact things being turned over much faster, information getting out there much faster, people being able to access 24/7, good or bad. Sometimes
yep,
it's necessary,
yep,
anywhere in the world, because people travel, and it is it's that kind of society. So it brings Acumatica brings everything to the table that we all want, because we are so tuned into our iPads and our cell phones and all of that technology.
Yep, absolutely.
So it makes things readily available. Yeah.
Yep, but and you're absolutely right there. But let's go one level of insight deeper. Well, so if you're moving to software as a service,
okay,
as a software company, one of the biggest things that is going to impact on your revenue stream, how your revenue stream comes in, and also how you report on revenues. All right? So how you recognize revenues. So one of the things that's just happened, there has been a working group inside the Financial Accounting Standards Board that was set up to address how revenue recognition gets done by software companies. and they have now presented a new set of guidelines for software companies to look at how they do revenue recognition. Okay, so one of the sessions, did anybody happen to attend my session yesterday that I did on selling to software and technology companies?
No.
Okay, no, that's fine. I recorded the session, and again, it'll be up on YouTube in the next day or so. But one of the key things that was one of the key things that we talked about how revenue recognition changes, and what people need to be aware of underneath that. So we've gone from, I think the standard is called SOP 97, and now changing to a new standard, and some of the terminology that you need to be familiar with when you're selling to those kinds of customers. Has anybody heard of a thing called VSOE?
Yeah, we're using it here.
Right. So VSOE is vendor-specific objective evidence. This is where you have to provide to the auditing community, to whoever is determining whether or not you're recognizing revenue correctly or not. You have to provide objective evidence as to how you've made the decision as to how you're going to recognize that revenue, and it's a constantly moving and changing process. But you know what? There are literally hundreds of resources out there on the web. If you go and search for VSOE, not only will you find a Wikipedia article on it, but you will also find a plethora, many, I like to throw that word in every once in a while because I just like to say it. You will find a plethora of resources explaining to you what the challenges are around that. Matter of fact, there's a software company called SoftTrax, and all they do is they specialize in building software that helps companies do revenue recognition. They have something like 10 or 15 different white papers that you can just download, which if you read 3 or 4 of those white papers, I guarantee you will become an expert on revenue recognition challenges in the software industry space. And not only in the software industry space, but actually revenue recognition impacts on every organization that sells service and maintenance contracts, okay, that are based on services being provided over a period of time. So when you're out there talking to people, it's not enough just to be having a discussion showing them how the functionality of Acumatica or the functionality of Acumatica together with M5, for example, helps them track and manage, their service contracts. But you want to be able to take the conversation up to the next level and have that discussion with them, even if it's not a big issue, just to at least table the discussion and have a discussion and say, how do you handle your revenue recognition for your service contracts? Do you use SOP 97? Is that the guideline? Do you use this standard? Do you use that standard? But make sure before you quote an acronym, you know what it means. All right? Because it could well be that they're smart and they might decide to call your bluff. All right? So I always say to people, never, ever be in a situation where you're like little boys swearing. Okay, I use that expression. Little boys swearing, they know what the words are and they know how to use them, but they have no idea what they mean. They just know they're bad, right? So, again, that's one of the key things that you want to make sure that you're doing as you go through this. So, then, if you want to go after a specific industry and you want to be enabled on that industry, then all you need to do is reach out to me and I will prepare for you one of these industry-specific reports. All right? It will be my pleasure to do that for you, generate it for you, and send it to you. And then it may well be that after a while you decide, you know what, it's actually worthwhile for us to have access to this information. If you do, let me know, because one of the things that I would love to do, if possible, if there's enough demand for it, is to negotiate a discount for you as an Acumatica partner to have access to your own Hoovers subscription. So instead of you paying, $8,000, we can get, if I can get, 7 or 8 of you who all say, yeah, we'd like to sign up for it, maybe we can get that down to 4,000. Now, one of the other things that comes off the back end of this Hoovers data as well is the ability to go in and build a list. So, for example, if any of you are working with me in a one-on-one mode and we start talking about your marketing campaigns, when you pick an industry, I'm going to start asking you, okay, tell me, what are the SIC codes? What are the postcodes that you're looking at? And then one of the things that I can do is I can do a drill down here, and I can get to a point where I can tell you exactly by number how many companies are in that geographical location in that particular industry. And then there's a whole range of additional parameters that we can put in here, and then I can tell you, all right, well, based on that market that you want to target, I can tell you that there are 450 companies in that particular area that meet those parameters, and then I can generate a list for you of those companies and who they are, and send that to you as an Excel spreadsheet with a list of all those companies. And then we can go one step further, and this is where it starts to cost Acumatica a little bit more money, is then you can say, you know what, I'd actually like the validated names and email addresses of the CFOs in those companies. All right, and somebody's just pointed out that my screen is paused. So I'm now showing the screen again. My apologies, my bad. Although I've only just started showing you something new. So this is the list builder that I was talking about. So it enables me to go in here and say, okay, we'll narrow it down by location into US, and you can see Canada is covered as well. I can also do this in specific countries, all right, or specific regions in the world. So we can go in here and we can build a list, and I can say, I only want to go up to 50 miles from a specific zip code. Then we can narrow it down and say, okay, what kind of company information do we want? Do we only want if it's a headquarters, if it's a single location, or if it's a branch? What's the ownership type? Do I want to apply a Dun & Bradstreet pre-screening score and only select those who screen to a certain level? Do I want those people who trade on the NASDAQ? Do I want any diversity status information? Are they a franchise? How have they been in business for a certain amount of time? Then we start to drill down on industry information, okay, SIC codes, NAICS codes, company size information based on sales, number of employees, financial information, okay, net income, when's their fiscal year end, do they have any ranking against any one of these indices, who their auditors are they in an IPO, and then I can also add specific keywords. All right, so I can start putting in keywords, and then I generate the result. And then when I get the result, as I said, I can generate that into an Excel spreadsheet for you and send it out to you. Okay, so that's another thing that you can utilize this information for, or you can reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to work with you to use our subscription to pull this information for you. Okay, so that's pretty much all that we have time for today. Bearing in mind that we're now at the end of our hour, I do apologize for that little Internet Explorer glitch that meant that I had to fumble around there for 10 or 15 minutes. But hopefully you found today's information to be worthwhile. The action item now sits with you guys. Go and if you haven't watched those industry webinars, go and take a look at them. See how I take this information and I present it out. All right. If you want one of these reports, let me know. One of the things I'm doing is I'm going through on a regular basis and starting to generate these reports, and I will publish them up on the partner portal. We're going to set up an industries area, so I will populate that industries area with some of these pre-built reports, so you can go ahead and you can start grabbing them without even having to ask. But I'm going to be doing those at a fairly high level: wholesale sector, professional services, retail. So they will be at a high level. When you want to drill down and look at food, perishable food wholesalers, then you'll need to reach out to me, and I'll need to generate a specific list for you. Okay? Was that helpful? Was today's session useful for you?
Yes, very, very.
Okay, great. So again, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just quickly run a quick poll for you, and we're going to look at, I want to get some specific voting feedback. And the good thing about these polls, by the way, folks, is that they are anonymous, all right? And so you can tell me that it was crap, and you won't have me breathing down your neck saying, why did you say it was crap? Not that I'd ever do that anyway. I'd probably ask you, why did you say it was crap? Only in the context of making sure that the information that I provide in the next session is valuable. So did you find the session today of value? All right. And the answers are yes and no. And
I don't see it.
no, it's not. You won't see it yet.
Oh,
okay. Because what I'm going to do right now that I've done that is I'm going to go into, and again, guys, I appreciate you bearing with me as I learn more and more about using this solution. I'm now going to take that poll and I'm now going to push it out to everybody. Okay, so 1 second. Attendees, dashboard. Where is it? I think I've gotten rid of my polls. There we go, polls and tests. There it is. Did you find today's session of any value? Launch. And you should now be able to see the poll. All right, 56% of people have voted, 63%, 69%, 75%, and 100% of you have said, no, it was a total waste of time, and Richard, you're an idiot. No, so 100% of you have said yes. So you're either very complimentary, or it's true, and hopefully it's true. I would believe it's true. So thank you for the feedback. Again, my email address, in case you don't know it, is rduffy@acumatica.com. If you want to give me more specific feedback, if there is a specific topic you want to cover at the Demo University, just let me know. I've got enough for the things that I want to talk about for the next year, all right? But I want to make sure that we're covering the things that are important to you, and hopefully the things that I cover are important to you. But, you know, you let me know what you want, and I'll make sure that I cover it. And somebody's already reached out and asked for an industry report on event management.
Richard,
yep.
for next week.
Yes, Penelope.
Oh wow, that's great. For next week, how do we? Can I just stay on my laptop with this?
Yes.
This whole demo that I have, this whole mock demo. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll just make you a presenter, and then you'll just share your screen out to everybody. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. This is very, very helpful. Everything I go and look on the YouTube every now and then just to hone my skills or to take a look to see how something is being done. I'm actually an implementer, but I help with the sales because this department is just starting up with Acumatica, so I'm just trying to use as many skills as possible.
Yep, great. So in addition to what Penelope's going to show you next week, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to our new Acumatica implementation methodology. So we've been working very hard for the last couple of months on building a complete methodology, complete with a set of supporting documents that you can use as you are certainly selling Acumatica, but then implementing Acumatica. So Penelope, I'm going to ask you to try and keep it to 45 minutes if you can. And then I'm going to take 15 minutes and just introduce you to the Acumatica implementation methodology. And then the session after that, we're going to talk a little bit about how do you work your implementation approach into your presentations from a sales and demonstration perspective. Okay, so that's what we've got coming up in our next 2 weeks. I look forward to seeing you online. and have a fantastic weekend. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
I'll make this session recorded and available to everybody very, very shortly. Thanks again.
Thank you, Richard.